What's up, YouTube? It's Mr. Ferguson here. So it's not that late. It's 6:30. I get up around 6:30 all the time. But last night was one of those nights. Got everything together, played some golf, got the trailer ready to get the aerator, talked with Mr. Kevin. We got a plan together. Then I had to eat late because of all the work I did, and it just woke me up in the middle of the morning. Had to go use the bathroom, and I just couldn't hardly fall asleep. Then my daughter woke up with a bellyache, and she's throwing up. And it was just one of those nights. We were all awake between 1 a.m. all the way up to 3:34. My wife has barely slept at all. She's got to work preschool today, so it's one of those nights. It's going to be a tougher day because of the improper sleep, but we prayed, Lord, give us the strength to do what we need to do. So we're going to make it a day. We're going to get this work done. It's the big day. Sorry I look like a jerk, but let's go do this thing. So when you're not an expert in zero turns, you can get caught in a ditch, especially when it's super wet still. So we're having to get Mr. Kevin's truck to try to pull this bad boy out of the ditch. So this should be interesting. It's always something each year here recently, but I was going up and down Mr. Brandon's bank and it got stuck on one of a steeper part. It is so wet out here, guys. It's not even rained in 3 days, but it's so dewy and moistury, a lot of saturation in the ground. The tires are slipping a little bit. You got to be super careful, especially with the zero turn. We went ahead and knocked out Mr. Brandon first. We got stuck. I took the rope off my dad's trailer over here. We tried the rope, boom, popped it, snapped it. And I'm praying, saying, Jesus, oh, what do we do? Because, Mr. Kevin's not a handyman. I'm not a handyman. But my dad would always come up with something. I'm like, wait a minute, there's a chain on the trailer. So I went to the trailer, and of course, it's only about 2 feet long because it's very short to just keep the trailer attached to the Tahoe. And so I had to undo the bolt and the nut for the chain on the trailer. Mr. Kevin backed his little Ranger up. We hooked it up, and thank God it came out. And so it's like, thank you, Jesus. So how long that took, if I had to estimate, 20-25 minutes we burned. And I'll take that out of my lawn because I wanted to get Mr. Brandon done, and we did. So now Mr. Kevin's going at his lawn, and he's wanting to really do his good because I've got an aeration ahead of Mr. Kevin. So he's behind me plugging away and doing what he's doing. So we had a little setback thus far, not a big deal. As soon as he's done, I'm going to jump on it. I think I'll have enough time to at least give it a pass and get it done. But main thing is this front yard. Being that we're overseeding, I want to loosen front yard compaction. So that's where we are. Hopefully we don't have any more hiccups, but the day is going on, and yeah, Lord be with us.
Riding through my hood, bumping that gospel music every day. Turn it way up loud and let the world know that we ain't ashamed.
Give 'em praise. Give 'em praise.
Just give 'em praise, let 'em know we ain't ashamed. 'Cause 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 we
So guys, we were successful with the aerating besides the hiccup of getting caught up in that ditch. We just got, it's 11:54. It's a little bit fast, but me and Mr. Kevin just got the aerator back to the company, which is awesome. It's lunchtime, so I'm going ahead and trading out the vehicles. Yes, my truck needs to get the hitch on it so that I can pull a trailer. I know I'll lose my man card for telling you that now, but that's okay. That's where I'm at. Just other priorities first, but that's got to happen this year. But anyways, so I'm going to the church to swap out trucks and get back and be able to go ahead and do pre-emergent likely first and get that watered in while we do seed in the front yard and peat moss some areas, and then we'll do some spraying. So we'll see you back at my house after we've gotten the truck.
A few hours later.
All right, guys, so we got the truck back, and as you see behind me, I've got my official county permit so that I can water. But anyways, we're legal. So we've not done anything since aerating. I've been riding around getting the truck, swapping back vehicles. So we've pulled cores. You guys have seen plenty of that, hopefully, in the video. Now I want to go ahead and work on doing my pre-emergent and do that in the backyard, get that laid down. So we're going to spread that all throughout the backyard and the side, as we've spoken about in previous videos. I think that's the smarter way to go about it. Let's get that laid down. And then we can focus everything on the front yard and doing everything in the front yard. So if you've not watched the previous videos, we are going with dithiopyr. That's just how I pronounce it. I'm sorry if that's not how you pronounce it, but we're going with Yard Mastery dithiopyr. We're going to use half the bag. We're doing roughly 15 pounds of it. So half, I'm going to eyeball it, put it down, and then we're going to reapply when temperatures get closer to the 50-55 degree mark. We're going to put the rest of the bag down, try it out. As we've mentioned on the channel, if you've not watched, at 1 September here in North Carolina, that's when Poa annua begins to germinate. So we are 16 days behind the curve as far as getting pre-emergent down. But this is the first year I've been able to do this. So with that said, let's get half of the dithiopyr in the spreader. Let's spread that around, and then we can water that in as soon as we get it all laid on the ground. All right, guys, well, my phone keeps overheating. It's sunny, it's not cloudy, it's hot, so I apologize. I'm doing my best with what I can do. We've got the seed up here, our triple threat. We've got our Jonathan Green Solar Green, and we've got our the Anderson's 4400 fertilizer. We're going to be doing half of the fert and as one application, and then we'll be doing the fert as a second application later on. So I'm going to do half the bag of fert when we do it. So I'm going to spread the seed and the fert here, not together, but separately, but I'm not going to talk every single time. I'm doing about half the bag of fescue. It's a 25-pound bag. I'm going semi-heavy in my front yard, about 6 pounds per 1,000 square feet, 6, 12, and then half of 12, 15, so roughly 15 pounds total. Of the 25 pounds I'm going in my front yard. I'm going heavier to try to, because we're not using pre-emergent over here behind me, so we want to thicken it up, and so I'm using 6 pounds per 1,000, 2,500 square feet, roughly around 15 pounds of seed. So that's roughly, so and the rest we're going to save for spot, washout and all that, because it has happened. It did last year. So we're watering in the pre-emergent on the side, even though maybe Mr. Kevin just talked about our crazy utility company, whatever, we'll deal with them if we have to, but we're watering in the pre-emergent while we deal with the front yard. So I'm getting that. We're not watering the grass. Remember, we're just watering in the pre-emergent with a ½ inch of water to get it in. If you don't water in your pre-emergent granular, it's just sitting on top of the dirt. You need to wait on rain, so we want to get it working now immediately. So we're watering it in. Seed time. I'll do my best to film the throwing down of the seed. right, so I want to explain this part because I want to be clear on how I'm doing my fertilizer. This is 4400, so a whole lot of nitrogen here, and I'm trying to do this carefully. I don't want to just eyeball it. My plan was, but I'm glad I didn't. I looked on the back of the bag, and it says 2.27 pounds per 1,000 square feet will give you 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. So I'm going with 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. I am doing the pre-emergent areas and the front yard and hitting them all the same. So total, we've estimated, and you can go through the math, I've got 8,600 square feet. So I'm doing 20 pounds, or roughly around 23 pounds of N spread evenly across the whole yard. So what I did to measure this out is I poured my Andersons in a bucket. I got on my wife's scale, weighed myself, picked up the bucket, and I happened to pour 20 pounds worth of product. So my eye was pretty good. And so I'm going to add a little bit more, about 3 more pounds, and put that in the spreader, and we're going to go with it and call it good. And we've got plenty for another application later on in this fall. So now that we got the fertilizer down, of course I realized I should have held off on watering the back lawn with the pre-emergent until I got the fert down. But you know, I've got so many doing this here, not doing this there parts that, you know, I've decided, that being the case, and I'm still watering in the pre-emergent and the Anderson's fert, I'm not going to do RGS in the back. So now the next thing Mr. Ferguson's doing, man, it is a long day and so much work. We're going to mix up the backpack sprayer now, and I'm going to do a little bit of microgreen. I'm going to do a little bit of RGS. I think I'm going to, and I don't know if I want to do tenacity or not. I just don't know. I think I will. I'll put, you know, we're only doing 2,500 square foot front yard spray, so it's a different type of mix. I got to be careful when I'm mixing this, but I'm going to mix that up off camera. It's just going on the camera, off camera. It's so much on this big day. But I'm going to mix up a little bit of tenacity, RGS, and microgreen, because we put down granular fert and we've got plenty of seed down, as you guys saw. So now the last step, well, second to last, third to last step is spray. Then we're going to cover some areas with some peat moss, and then we got to water it in. Regardless of what your public utilities say, you need water for the seed. You want to keep it moist. So let's get these last steps done. All right, guys, so we got the and the urea down. We've got the seed down. We've got the RGS, the tenacity sprayed. We've got RGS microgreen, a little bit of microgreen. So now what I'm going to do is, I did off camera, I spread some lawn soil by Scott's down here in the bare areas from Fusillade and from where we did Roundup to kill some of these weeds. I did some along the edge of the road as well, even though we already know, guys, that yeah, that's going to die off when it gets warm by the road, because we've seen all the rocks, right? So we know that, but we're still going to try to make it look good for as long as we can make it look good. So I'm one that likes to use peat moss. If you're totally unfamiliar, straw has, you know, all types of weed seeds in them that will pop up in your yard. It grows with your good grass, and you don't want to do that. You want just straight up grass, right? So peat moss is can be bad if you put too much, because you don't want to block your seed from water or sunlight. It's got to get the right ultraviolet rays from the sun and all that good stuff. So you don't want to do it too thick. And so the way I've done it, and it's worked great, every time I put peat moss down, everywhere I put peat moss, that area comes up first. No lie, guaranteed. And it can be messy, especially if you're like me. It's very humid out here today. I do it by hand. If you have that little machine, that roller, that's great, but I do it by hand. And yeah, it takes a little bit, but it's tender love and care for my lawn. And sometimes when you get bored with this, if you've got big areas, you know, you can just dump it and rake it. But the other thing is you don't want to totally throw your seed all over the place, right? So we're trying to cover the mix of the lawn soil and the seed and the RGS and the tenacity and all that, and cover that up real good with this peat moss. And as we water it here soon, the water it's going to absorb and hold water between the peat moss and the seed. It also, it also helps. So the birds right there that you hear maybe on mic, the birds don't come and just swoop down and eat it. And it's bare, you know what I'm saying? These are the bare areas. That's why I want definitely put the peat moss in the bare areas. Normally Miss Ferguson helps me, but she had to go get my oldest daughter. So I'm out here starting on it by hand. And I've got plenty of peat moss this year for the first time because we didn't kill off any sections. And typically I do stretch it super thin. When I do put peat moss down, I spread it out as thin as I can to make it last, because everywhere I put peat moss each year, I have personally noticed that's where it comes up first. That's where my baby seed. Why? Because moisture. You know, when you're watering or if it rains, the peat moss is holding the moisture where the bare areas don't have peat moss. That moisture, the sun is drying it up. The wind, all that good stuff, but the peat moss areas is holding the moisture down under the seed. So I'm going to do this. Maybe, you know, I don't want to rake it because I've already done that. So there you go. I'm going to be doing that, putting on plenty of peat moss, and then after that, we'll be ready to water. Peat moss. I think I got plenty of peat moss. All right, guys, so this is the last time I'm gonna film today because I'm tired of filming. But you know you've been successful when you've got the peat moss wrist and legs. See, everybody's probably like, Mr. Ferguson, and let me stop here. For safety reasons, you need to wear long sleeve, long pants, eye pro, ear pro. Please use the proper safety gear. Don't be like Mr. Ferguson. I'm in my lawn doing my thing, and I may suffer consequences from chemicals. So safety people, I got you. I hear you. I thought about it already, but it's too late. It is so hot. Clearly you can see by the shirt. I would die in pants, to be honest with you, but safety first, I get it. So please be safe, but manually spread some of the peat moss. We'll show you on another video. I'm pooped. But we did peat moss in all these areas. So peat moss is down, did a little extra on the side and up here towards the road. So all the peat moss is down, primarily down there in the ditch where we did fusillade. But everything's done. And now we've watered the back with the pre-emergent, with the humic, the 44, the urea, that's watered in. The whole back is watered in. I watered the little strip by the mailbox just now, so that's good to go. I did throw some seed in the ditch. If you guys that have been around know where we burned up the grass doing a test with fusillade the first time, we torched this area. I'd got dithiopyr here, and I got it right here. So if it runs off into there, that seed ain't growing. So that'll be interesting to see. I did put some seed, some peat moss, some fert. We'll see if it grows or not. If not, it's the ditch. Who cares? But man, what a day's work. It's sunlight and I'm finishing up. I haven't started watering, but I can pretty much water this in the next hour. So thank you guys for watching. I'm not sure what this video is going to look like on these days, man. It feels like we aerated yesterday. And I am just wasted. I'm filthy. I smell like booty doo. I'm
filthy. I smell like booty doo.
I'm hot. I'm hungry. It's just been a day, but This is going to pay off for the next 10 to 11 months, maybe a year. And that's what the big day is all about. It's not fun all the time, as me and Mr. Kevin was saying while we're spreading peat moss, but man, it's going to pay off for the next several months. That all these people that are driving by, walking their dogs, are going to be like, holy crap, look at that lawn. And so it's just like when you're getting ready to play golf. You're out there on the course when everybody else is gone. You're practicing for that day you're in the tournament. They're like, how the heck did that guy hit that ball so far? Oh my gosh, how is he playing so well? It's when nobody's looking, like today, that we are setting up for success to dominate. So anyways, thank you guys for watching the Big Day video 2022-2023. We'll see how it turns out after water in a few days. So keep checking in, hit the subscribe button, come back. This is just putting it down. We want to see what it looks like when it comes in. And when do we see germination? Will we see it in the peat moss areas like before? Come tune in, subscribe, join. Super thanks. Thank you guys so much. God bless. We'll see you next time.
I'm about to go beach
From
mode.
the streets of Cali down to Argentina, I keep rappers on their toes like they ballerinas. Non-believers is even about to call me a genius. I do miracles on the mic like my name was Jesus. Multiplying rhymes like the loaves and the fishes. When I'm spitting this vicious, I'm worse in the pit that don't listen and you about to get beat.